This program is presented by University of California Television. Like what you learn? Visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the latest UCTV programs.
Halloween. Today, ladies and gentlemen, our focus is on horror on screen and maybe even some scary backstage stories, because we've got them, right?
We do.
No.
We'll find them somewhere.
We'll find them.
They're all scary.
I would like to introduce to you my honored guests. To my far left, we have Mr. G. Jonathan Stark, who John and I have been playing in and out of the theater together for about 30 years now.
I think so, yeah, something like that.
Johnny is a writer, a producer, and actor, born in Erie, Pennsylvania. His first writing job,
Come on, Erie.
It's a gate. We call it the gateway to Cleveland, just so.
As far as I know, John's first professional writing job was on a show called Cheers. Heard of it? Mm-hmm. And so we have been giving each other jobs since then, and we've been working together since then. He is well known for creating a show called According to Jim. He won the Emmy, thank you, and the Writers Guild Award, and broke all kinds of new ground in television for writing the Puppy episode, aka Yep, I'm Gay episode of Ellen DeGeneres' show, Ellen. He is known to you and here today because he played the vampire bodyguard and the servant Billy Cole in Fright Night. And he played Charlie in House 2, and we're going to look at a little bit of horror movie and have a lot of fun with that. And Johnny is the reason that our honored guest to my immediate left is here, because Johnny and Barry Bostwick met a couple of months ago,
a couple weeks
ago.
Yeah.
And John said, hey, Sherry, for that Halloween thing that you're doing up at UCSB, would you like to get Barry Bostwick? You know, he was in Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I said, yeah. But Barry and my husband Billy and I go back about 30 years as well.
Yep.
When we worked on a pilot together. We wrote a pilot for Barry and then got, I think the word you used was canned.
Yeah.
It was really one of our very earliest firings, and that could be a horror story we discussed today. Mm-hmm. But it's just so great to be back. So
you all have a can in your future, by the way. So
and that's important. We've been learning that, and we've been learning that the important thing is to know how to get out of that particular can and back up on your feet. So we'll talk about that. So Barry was born in San Mateo, California, and he went to the United States International University and majored in acting. And did NYU's graduate acting program. And then in 1972, originated the role of Danny Zuko in Grease on Broadway. Heard of it? After that, he earned a Tony nomination for that, and then went on to win the Tony Award for The Robber Bridegroom. Between those two Tony outings, he played Brad in Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I want to let you know is playing tonight at 10 p.m. Where at the Magic Lantern? Embarcadero, 10 p.m. tonight. So we'll watch a little bit of Rocky Horror tonight, just now, and then you can go see the rest of it at 10 o'clock, because we want you to all have a safe and sane Halloween. So Barry has gone on to do so much TV and so much film, it's not even funny.
I've tried to be funny sometimes.
We're going to be funny,
all right.
But there's so many that if I list them, we'll be here until 6:45, only listing things that you've done on TV. But we've done our Law and Order SVU. We've done Spin City for 6 years with Michael J. Fox, and then with Charlie Sheen. We've done episodes of Cold Case and Glee that harken back to that Rocky Horror thing.
right.
We've done Ugly Betty, Private Practice, Cougar Town Scrubs. We did the series George Washington, the miniseries, and then years later, more recently, played another president, FDR, in
FDR American Badass.
FDR American Badass,
Yeah.
which if you have not seen this, you have to see this because it's really funny
Yeah.
and really outrageous,
Yeah.
and it's your Netflix viewing for the weekend. So I would like us to please welcome Jonathan Stark and Barry Bostwick to our stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
So, I would like to ask you, when you were growing up, when you were young in Erie, Pennsylvania and San Mateo, California, what were the first early signs that you would have a career in the entertainment industry? Were there early markers of future success?
Huh?
You go first.
I was relatively successful with girls. You know, I think, you know, that's really
Going how far back, like fourth
high
grade?
school. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was my first. I mean, no, I didn't lose my virginity in the fourth grade.
Good.
But, you know, I thought about it. But no, in high school, I think, you know, I was, my first real love was a dancer, and she had worked at she had, you know, dance recitals and stuff through her studio, and I was always brought in to partner her, you know, so I was doing that, and then I started doing little theater, and I started doing community theater, and then I started doing high school theater, but it was always because there was always a pretty girl somewhere around.
Ah.
You know?
So it's what you did for love.
So, yeah. Yeah. Love.
We're going to go with that, right, guys?
What's your story?
I was relatively unsuccessul with girls, so I got into theater for that. So basically, whatever you do in theater, it doesn't have anything to do with girls. I wanted to get into it. There was like a summer program in Erie. It was called the Mill Players, and they would do all these musicals, you know, King and I and all this stuff. And I wasn't a big star in the shows, but I always be like, in the King and I was a guard. I had to always stand like this. And I did smaller roles and stuff, but it was just fun because it was like a family. And I had that, I never had that feeling before when I did that kind of stuff. And you know, you'd paint scenery and you'd build sets and you'd do all this stuff, and it was, you really felt like you were in a group of people that you had a kinship with. And that always carried through, but I never decided to do that as a career. It just was something I loved doing.
Just quick show of hands, how many people here have been in a high school or a community theater or a kids production? Good. Okay, yeah, so we know what we're talking about, that sense of working with other people.
And how many did it because there was a pretty girl in the cast? Thank you
or,
very much. Of course. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. One look at you, I could tell. Yeah.
So we discover this thing, we discover this world for other reasons, and then we find out we're kind of good at it. Like, did you know you were talented? Did you know, like, obviously, you're a very talented dancer. When did you figure out you could sing?
In high school, when I was in high school, it was the folk era, you know, Kingston Trio and this and that.
A Mighty Wind, for those.
Right, yeah, Mighty Wind. And so I had folk groups in high school, you know, Ron and Barry. I couldn't even get first billing. I couldn't go Barry and Ron. Didn't seem to work.
And it's
Ron
alphabetical.
And Barry. Yeah. And of course I had a group with my girlfriend Tracy and Barry, you know. And then and we would play prisons and things like that. We would go and do prison gigs.
Like Johnny Cash.
Yeah. And we YMCA's. We were big on the YMCA circuit, you know. The straight YMCA circuit.
I understand.
Yeah.
Were you being paid for this, or were you just doing it to get experience?
No, just experience. You know, I don't think we got paid. I would get my parents to have some of their friends have us over for a party, and they would give us a couple of bucks, you know. But no, I was very concerned about Actually, no, it's true. I was very concerned about money. You know, and a lot of it I did because I could make a few bucks and I couldn't do anything else. I didn't want to mow lawns, you know, something like that. So I would work on my singing and guitar playing and all that, and trying to find 2 shirts that matched.
How'd that go?
Pretty good, actually.
I'm
yeah.
looking. No.
No,
not him. You.
Oh, I know. Nothing's matched since then.
It's like we're going to get you some Garanimals. So, tiger goes with tiger.
Yeah.
I ask because it's something that we hear quite often, that people in various different walks of the entertainment industry start out by giving it away until they get paid for it. Is that, so would you say that that was true of you?
I still give it away.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah, sure. I do web series. I do I just did a pilot last weekend for a Comedy Central thing, a Comedy Central little pilot for, and, you know, I'm always like working for $100 a day for a friend who's doing a low budget feature or something.
You're not doing this for free, are you? Because we're all getting paid.
Yeah, you know? Jesus. No, yeah. Yeah, no, so I mean, it continues, you know. I mean, I do it now for nothing because I believe in the people that I'm working with, and I believe in their talent, and I think that they're, you know, have a future, and if I can add anything to the sort of mix, I'm happy to do it, you know. And also gives me a chance to play characters that, you know, actors, you know this. I mean, you get locked into a style or into a character that they're always casting you as, you know, and you finally get to play FDR American Badass, you know, where you're saying things like, "But does my cock still work?" You know, things like that. You know, I mean, I couldn't do that on ABC. You know? No.
You could, but there would be a beep in it.
Right.
Johnny, did you start out working for free, or were you always paid for being an actor or a writer?
No, I did. I was involved in, when I went to college and got a degree in education, and art education, and I student taught, and I hated it. But you know, my mother was like, "Well, you need to get something to fall back on if you want to," you know. And I said, "Well, I really don't like it." And she was pretty cool about it. She said, "Okay, whatever, but you've got it. You've got your degree." So I kind of got involved after that. I was hanging around Erie and not knowing what I wanted to do, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, we're doing a 1776 at the college." And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." You know, so then I started doing that. I did like 5 productions there. And after the 5th production, I just said, "I really like this. This is the same feeling I had when I was doing the Mill Players, doing the summer theater thing. And I like it. And I don't know if I'm going to be good at it or not, or succeed at it, but I kind of want to go for it just to do it. You know, I mean, it's always a crapshoot. You never know if you're going to succeed or not, but you got to go for what you're dreaming, you know, so.
So was it that sense of, yes?
I always knew what I wanted to do, you know, and I don't find that's true today. I've got teenagers, as you know, and they don't really know yet what they want to do, and I'm sure many of you out here are, you know, getting a good liberal arts education and are trying to figure out what the next step is, you know. But I was very fortunate in that I think from mid-high school, I knew that I wanted to be an actor. And everything I did from then forward was, you know, aimed there. I took acting classes in school. I mean, I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting from a college. Went to NYU to work on acting. You know, I never really did anything else other than park cars and take coats, you know.
Not professionally, but you are constantly creative. You're an artist. You're a potter, and you work in leather, and so there's this creative, urge that expresses in different ways. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, but I also learned at a very young age that if you're going to be in show business, you also have to have an incredibly long list of hobbies that you really love, you know, because you don't do show business that much of your day or your week or your month. So you have to find other things that are going to feed you, you know, and whether I was always doing sculpting and then that turned into pottery 25 years ago, but it's always something that I can do, whether or taking classes at UCLA, evening courses in something, just always had to keep myself busy. The curiosity factor, I think, is the real trick to any actor or anybody who's in show business, is you just can't lose that sense of curiosity, right? You're curious now. You're wondering, well,
I'm wondering what you're saying. I have no
about?
idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, but I understand what you're talking about. It's one of the things that informs, I think, a really talented actor is this curiosity, this fascination with being able to make something out of nothing, to take a character off a piece of paper and bring it to life, but that expands into other creative outlets. And yet, I mean, one of the difficult things in the past about having acting as a career is you have to wait for somebody to cast you in a show or a movie or a TV series. And what do you do while you're waiting? How do you express your creativity? So for you, it's artistically.
Right. And a lot of actors have belonged to groups like you belong to improv groups or small theater groups or this and that. And I always found acting so difficult, hard, and that I didn't want to sort of just do it on a weekly basis. I just wanted to do it when they were, when I had that scepter of failure over me, and they were paying me. That's really what it was about.
I want to follow that for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Why is it hard for you? Because you make it look unbelievably easy. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, Barry was just on Scandal last season too. Remember, you guys? Mm-hmm. So you make it look so easy, playing such a huge range of characters. Why is it hard?
It's because I have a hard time focusing, I think, one of the things. I think I'm probably very ADD, and I, didn't know it. So for me to sort of pull it together and to be able to really do it, I have to divorce myself from a lot of other things in my life, and that's hard. I'm not making any sense at all.
Do I look like you're not making sense?
No, but it's the reflection in your glasses, and I'm looking at myself going, you're not making any sense at all.
If you could see behind my glasses, you would know that you're making sense.
You're actually making sense to me on this one, so I'm understanding, yes.
Johnny, so I want to throw that same question to you. Is acting hard for you, or is it easy?
What's hard is making it easy. It's so hard. It's like improv. Yeah, does anybody here do improv? Anybody? A few people, okay. What's really hard about learning improv is getting rid of all the crap in your head of when you're up on stage and you're just speaking from extemporaneously, and you don't have an idea of what you're saying, and that little thing in your head that's telling you that's not the right thing or that's not funny or whatever. The hardest thing is to get rid of that. And once you get rid of that, it starts to become easy. And I think that's the same thing in acting too. I think improv and acting are so similar in so many ways, because when you act, you're doing somebody else's lines, but you're still improvising your thoughts and your feelings and what's going on. Everything, you don't really know what's going to be happening in front of you. You just have these lines. So you have to kind of improvise even within the lines when you're acting.
Oh, I think just the opposite. I think...
well, that's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I think you're full of shit, is what I think, basically. Because you're good at improv. I mean, you're an expert at it, And me, I'm a person who wants to know what comes next.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to rehearse it, and I want to have some boundaries, and this and that. And my worst class in college at NYU was my improv class. Hated it. You know. I mean, I had stomach aches every morning, and it was colitis for days. Because I didn't. There's rules. And when you're improvising, there's certain rules, right? I mean, there's a set of rules that you have to follow, and you can't dismiss what the other person is giving you, and throw off the whole scene. But you also have to have such trust.
But the rules to me are like when you're doing, I don't know if anybody knows how to drive a standard here, but I learned on my brother's standard and ground the gears.
Like
and
manual?
Yeah, that kind of thing. But when you're learning a standard, you have to do the gears, and you have to lift out the clutch and the gas at the same time. And it took me 6 months to learn it. I could not figure it out because I was trying so hard to learn it. Once you let it go, it actually becomes pretty easy. So for me, you know, you spend so many years learning the rules of acting, you learn the rules of improv, you learn all these rules, and then when you let them go, you know, then they're just kind of second nature.
Yeah.
When you studied acting, were you in, you know, a Meisner or Stanislavski or any of those schools of acting, or was it just all about practice?
Did you?
Either one of you.
No,
I didn't have any. I mean, because in college, it was sort of prior to where they would take a group of students and send them to one particular studio, and there'd be one particular, you know, genre of acting, and we were just sort of a little of this, a little of that, and whatever worked and got you through the month, you know.
Yeah, the rules stuff was like Stanislavski. You had to do so much prep, and you had to do so much work and sense memory and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just too much work for me. I didn't want to do it. You know, it was like doing homework. And so I just go and start reading the lines, and whatever came to my head is kind of what I, you know, would do.
So in other words, for you, it's just kind of getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Of the character, getting yourself, John Stark, out of the way of the character, or is it putting yourself into
I think it's putting yourself
character?
into the character and just kind of going, well, and just trusting that you're going to come up with something when you do this character. You're going to come up with a way of saying things that's different than the way I would say it, or the way, if somebody's evil, you know, you don't necessarily play evil, but you have a feeling about you. You just assume that you're evil. I mean, you don't have to say evil things.
What is, and I've heard this as a writer, we've had this question. I'm going to open it up to your guys' questions, so be thinking of them in just a second. For you, for both of you, talk a little bit about the differences between doing stage, film, and television. For you, how do those different media impact your work as actors? Johnny?
Well, I never really loved doing TV. It was because it's, the ones I did, especially back then, were just, you know, in front of an audience, and if you screwed up your lines, and you're always on a show, unless you're the star of the show. Like I did Cheers. I did an episode of Cheers that Sherry and Bill brought me in on. And by the way, trivia fans, I think I may be the only person that actually wrote on Cheers and was a guest star. Is that true?
Oh, really?
Perhaps.
Let's say yes.
Okay. But I did an episode of it, and as great as it was, and as great as the cast was, I was always afraid of forgetting my lines or screwing up in front of an audience and in front of the cast, who is just phenomenal, and I'm just like this little cog in the wheel at that point. So TV was never my favorite thing to do. I always loved films because you do 2 pages a day, maybe, I mean, if, you know, maybe 3 or 4 if they're really going fast, but, you know, it's pretty easy to do. So it's not a lot of pressure. And stage, I love doing just because it's all continuous. You know, there's no cutting, there's nothing. You're really living. You're living the life up there.
But how is doing stage different from doing television in front of a live audience?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I know you still have to remember your lines, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you have,
think that's
you have
why
a
I do
bigger
improv.
rehearsal period, and it's only one set of lines.
Yeah, I mean, I always never liked remembering lines, but that's why I like improv so much now, because I don't have to memorize stuff.
Did you always think your lines were better than the ones that were written on the page?
No, I thought I just did them better.
Oh, good, yeah. What?
I told these guys the first week we were together, remember that time that our guest was late and I had to talk for a long time? That the reason I learned that I was a writer at heart when I was 26 years old was John and I were together on stage in a play that Billy and I had written, and I remember feeling happier when John got a laugh saying a line that I thought of than when I got a laugh saying a line that Billy thought of.
Oh, really?
And that's how I knew I was happier to be a writer. It was paying attention to those things that make you feel right. And it made me feel more right to hear you get a laugh than to get one myself.
Well, you know, Billy was kind of involved with me deciding to write too, because I was doing improv. I did it for a long time, and he said, "Oh, did you ever write?" And I said, "No, I never really thought about it." He said, "Well, you do improv." you're writing on your feet, so why don't you try it? So I grabbed a friend of mine, Tracy Newman, and we started writing scripts. And we wrote, I think, some Murphy Browns and other scripts, that were, forever ago. And we gave them to Sherry and Bill, and they would be like, oh yeah, this is good, whatever. So I just called Sherry to ask her somebody's phone number. She said, you guys still writing? I said, yeah. We're still doing it, trying to make a living in it, but not making a living in it. She said, send me a script. So we sent her one. 2 days later, she goes, you guys want to work on Cheers? Yeah. That was the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, it was the crown jewel for television writers. It would be like writing what today? Modern Family.
Modern Family.
Probably.
Yeah.
I will tell you one of the reasons that it was that we really wanted to hire you, and I think both of you probably have experienced this too. We wanted you in the room. We wanted to work with people that we trusted and liked and enjoyed being around. And that goes to one of the lessons that we talk about in this class too. It's about often you get hired because people want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Your talent, obviously your talent was there.
No, I know great writers that people do not want in their rooms. And they work, but not as much as really fun people in the room. Because you're family, basically. You're there for 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a day.
Barry, do you think you've gotten jobs because people just want to spend time with you? Or just fun to be with?
Well, I did Spin City. Bill Lawrence wrote that, and consequently, he wrote Scrubs and Cougar Town, and he would have me on Cougar Town or Scrubs just because he knew that I wasn't going to screw up really bad, and that I could get a laugh occasionally, And he knew how to write for me because he had been around for the 6 years. And I noticed that what he would do is that he would mine so many of the people from Spin City, because that was his first big hit, to sort of spread out all of his other shows. He'd put them in his other shows, and I'm sure that's what you do too, in a way. You trust them. They're sort of fun to be around. They don't smell, things like that.
Or even if they do.
Yeah. So I do. I think I've, gotten some things for that reason.
I mean, and you just said that you're doing another film with the person, the group that did the
FDR.
FDR.
Yeah, FDR. We're doing another one called Helen Keller versus the Night Wolves. Yeah. Has anybody here seen the FDR movie? One? That's all? Jesus.
We are very busy studying
Oh my
all
God.
the time.
Oh, it's on Netflix.
All we
They're
do
gonna
is
study
learn.
tonight. They're gonna
Right
go study
in your
tonight.
wheelhouse, guys. You got to see this.
Yeah.
This is very funny.
Go look up FDR American Badass.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's intentionally the
Bad.
cheesiest,
Yeah, sure.
most outrageous, offensive, and ridiculous. And you
Yeah.
are FDR.
I'm FDR.
And your
yeah.
wheelchair is like this
Oh,
semi-automatic.
it shoots rockets and
It's a
things.
rocket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and
It's
it's killing werewolves. It's,
ridiculous and hilarious. And the
Yeah.
worst werewolves.
oh, the worst.
The best worst
Yeah.
werewolves, I should say.
Yeah.
But the lesson here that I really want to emphasize is be that person that people want to rehire. That once
Yeah.
they've worked with you, they want to work with you again. What would you say goes into, besides talent, besides being good at what you do, what goes into somebody wanting to work with you again and again, wanting to have you around?
Just being nice, being a team player, be willing to go the extra mile, help out where you can and listen and take notes and you don't have to take every single note, but at least listen and discuss. And
By take notes, you mean when somebody gives you a suggestion,
yeah.
don't question it, but go ahead and do it.
Well, I think you can question it, but at least don't say no out of hand. At least sit there and say, oh, that's, okay, but what if this? I mean, that goes to writing too. When that network will give you notes. All they want to do is be heard. So you just at least hear them and you go, yeah, well, that's a great idea, but we're going to table that and maybe do it in another script or maybe not do it at all. But it's kind of that thing of just at least including other people,
Yeah, and also I think maybe people who want to work with me occasionally is because I will do something different almost every take. I would always bring a lot of choices to the table, and it gives them a lot to work with. They know that if I'm coming in, I'm not going to just give the same performance from 1 to 10 in takes wise. And so, you know, it creates some trouble because things don't always match, but my sense of the character grows from take to take, and it's how I discover the character. So, you know.
Do you plan those out in advance? Do you say,
No,
okay,
no.
so
I think
you're
they come to
finding
me in
them
the car on the way to the studio, most of them. They really do.
Well, then you are finding them in the moment.
But
you
that's
are
improvising.
finding your things in the moment. You know, you don't just have it all planned out.
Okay.
Just like
All right.
this.
I'm a liar.
Yes, well, I'm not saying it. Let them
All right.
say it.
Okay.
Let's talk about being both. Let's talk about working both sides of the table, which you've done, Johnny.
Well, the one thing I did want to say was, if you're a writer, one of the best things you could do, I mean, going to college is a great thing, but if you go in as a writer's assistant, you learn so much. Yeah. You learn more than you could ever possibly learn in college because you're in the middle of the room, you're dealing with the writers, and you're getting paid for it at the same time. So that's the kind of job, if you're looking for it, if you're looking to be an actor, try and get, even if it's a job for free, somehow get involved in the acting thing, you know, whatever you're doing, because you learn by assimilation, you learn by watching people.
Did I ever tell you a story about my grandfather?
Oh, geez. Here we go.
In writing, ladies and gentlemen, that's a callback or a running gag. But I think I do want to mention to you that as a writer, it is great to have acting experience.
Improv,
if you're
too.
writing in the media, it's great to have that experience so that you know what the actor's experience of saying your lines are going to be. I think as an actor, likewise, it's great to have an experience of writing so that you know how to behave with writers, how to express yourself and how to work together.
I worked on, when I did According to Jim, we had a woman who was a non-writing producer. And she had worked at ABC for years before that. And she quit her job at ABC and decided to work with us. And she told me, she said, at one point, she said, you know, I wish that I would have gone in a room years before this, because I had no idea what this was like. And most people in the networks and studios, they don't know what it's like, because they don't want to sit there for 16 hours a day and work and try and figure out and realize how hard it is to figure out how to rewrite a script and everything like that. So it is really important to know all that stuff.
And to but I want to, in defense of college, because here we are, I want to say that I think there is no better and safer place to experiment with all the different disciplines, writing and acting, than in a university setting, because your life and your job are not on the line.
Well, I went to a little school in Erie, small school, and my roommate was a guy named Michael Patrick King, who's a writer and producer. He did
Sex
in the City. He did The Comeback. He did all the Sex and the City movies. And this was just a little theater department. And we became friends in the theater department. So it really is just, all that, his job and mine just sprang from that.
Well, let me ask you a question, because here we are in college, at the university. What things, if you can recall, it's a couple years ago, did you learn in school that informed you through your careers?
How to
plagiarize?
Yeah, plagiarize and research and yeah.
Okay, so research.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, research.
Research. Yeah, that's the answer. Would you give me a story about Bob Newhart? He's one of my favorites. I think Bob Newhart is brilliant. I think he's like the male Betty White in my eyes.
And we had Betty White on the Bob Show as well.
Yeah.
Bob is wonderful. And Bob, for two television series, the first one being the Bob Newhart Show,
right,
and the second series being Newhart, played this affable, put-upon guy surrounded by crazy people.
Yeah.
We got to know Bob when we were at Paramount, and we got to know that he was not just this affable put upon guy, but that he had a wicked sense of humor and teeth, and he could fight back, and he was fun. And so we decided in the third show, first there was the Bob Newhart Show, then there was Newhart. We decided that for Bob, which was the show that we created, he would have, his character, Bob, would have that same kind of bite. And what we failed to recognize was that nobody else in America, except for us, wanted to see a different Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
We thought it would be really fun for people to see a side of him that they had never seen before. But we were very, very wrong. And like Johnny said, we had the most wonderful time. Working with him was the best. And all week long was perfect, except for, and it played on, the show came on Friday nights, and on Saturday mornings we'd get the ratings, and we realized we were all alone, that we were misunderstood, and that America just didn't want that. I know that's not the story you're looking for here.
No, it is a story.
But I think it is important to hear that sometimes we had been told that doing a third show with Bob Newhart, whose first two shows were extremely successful, that this show would be a slam dunk. And we trusted that, and we tried to go off model, and we just didn't get buy-in. Now, I think we might today, but today was not then. At that time, we just couldn't get it. And we struggled because we loved it. We all loved it.
Well, he just did, what was that show he's just on? With the 3 or 4 guys that they're all.
Right. I think that was.
It's like the number one
Stanley's
show on television right now, the comedy.
Oh, Big Bang Theory?
Big Bang Theory, right? So he was on Big Bang Theory, but he played the Bob from the first 2
The
shows.
Bob that
not
America wants to see.
Then that's what everybody fell in love with again. It's interesting, yeah.
So, question over here.
If you guys could play any character in the history of like film or TV, who would it be?
If you could play any character, do you have a dream role that you would like to play?
I'd like to play him.
Better
than him.
You wouldn't last a minute in here.
God.
I've always wanted to play, I can't think of anybody right offhand specifically, but I've always wanted to play the most evil, horrible person ever. You know, I mean, maybe not like Hitler, but because that's been done, but somebody that's really horrible. I really like playing evil people. I don't know why. Maybe I'm evil, I don't know.
I just want to play any part that Jimmy Stewart played.
Oh, that's good casting.
Yeah. Anything. Even his cowboys. I would do one of his cowboys. I've never played a cowboy. I'd like to play a cowboy. Do you have any influence at all?
Okay,
No.
because why? Just because to have that experience, to live that life for a moment?
Actually, I was just in Romania. I did a movie called Scorpion King 4, which would have been the 4th of the Scorpion King movies.
Right, and we all know Scorpion King 1 through 3.
Yeah. The Rock was in the first.
Okay.
And then after that, there was always a guy who looked like The Rock.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we did 4, and we were just in Romania. And my character had to ride a horse. And so the second day I was there, I had to go with a wrangler and learn how to ride this horse. And the horse threw me in the first day. And I had the most horrible bruises and everything on my butt. But I couldn't help but wanted to show everybody, I just dropped trow in a second. You want to see this, what the horse did to me, And so when it came time...
We're back to your butt again.
I know, I'm sorry. And when it came time to shoot the scene where I had to ride the horse, the director wouldn't let me ride the horse because he was afraid that I was going to get thrown again. Hello?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And why?
Muting.
What's the point?
We all know.
What was
Sorry,
the point?
guys.
What was the point?
That the director wanted you back up on the horse.
Oh, yeah, get me back up on the horse.
Well, you wanted back up on the horse.
I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to kill myself. But see, this is what happens when you shoot in foreign countries, is that the guy who was the wrangler and was supplying the horses was putting all the actors on male horses. Mavericks? Are they Mavericks? No.
Stallions?
Stallions. They were putting us all on stallions. And you don't put actors on a stallion.
Put them on a mare.
You put them on a mare. So, you know, because they want to fight you at every turn, you know, and actors, we have enough problems learning our lines and, you know, being on where you're supposed to be, and then you don't want to have a horse fighting you the whole time. And that's my whole story.
But you still want to be a cowboy.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'll be a cowboy.
All
yeah,
right.
I'll be a cowboy. But I won't be on a stallion.
Not on a stallion.
I'll be on a mare.
Cowboy on a mare.
This goes back to the beginning of this conversation. Being on a mare.
I understand. Okay, all right. And it's the Jimmy Stewart. We're going back to Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. Oh God.
I like that. I think that's good casting.
I used to go to his house. He had a house in Beverly Hills, and I used to live up in the hills beyond him, in a much smaller house. And he used on Halloween, if you went to his house trick-or-treating, he would come to the door and give you the candy himself.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so sweet. And I went there as a 42-year-old man, dressed up just to see Jimmy Stewart and get, you know, a Mars bar.
Were they fun-sized or were they full-size?
No, those were the days where you get the full size, you
That's
know.
big.
Yeah.
More questions. Yes, up in the top.
What do you do when you're not working?
What do you do when you're not working?
I worry about not working and getting a job.
Okay.
You know, or I'm working towards getting a job, or I'm taking a yoga class, or trying to get a little sun on my face so I look good, or I'm working in my pottery studio, or I'm, you know, working with my kids in some way, dealing with my family.
Is the pottery
do you do?
pure hobby, or do you?
I'm asking him the question.
Pass it on.
Are you doing the interview now? Because
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm just relating. This is a triangle here. See?
I'm not working right now, and I write. I still write. I enjoy it a lot, and I do Instaplay with them. I do a radio recreation show called Fake Radio. I do the Groundlings, because I was originally in the Groundlings company, and so I do the Groundling shows. I do a lot of live theater around town, and during the days I write scripts because I enjoy that. So I get to do both of the things I love.
Can you write just on spec like that? I mean, do you have the same energy to work on something that you know doesn't have an audience or a buyer?
Yeah, because I'm writing what I want to write.
Really?
And I'm not writing what the studio wants me to write, which is if you send them a treatment and they buy a treatment, then you've got 4 pages and they can completely tear that apart and make something else out of it. But if you're sending them a 35-page script and you say, here's my vision, they either kind of have to accept that or they don't. You know, it's almost like I was saying, when you're an actor, you have to make a decision, a commitment before you do it, and say, here's what I like, here's what I like. Now, you may not like it.
Yeah.
That's okay, but this is my vision.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You have to come in with a choice.
Yeah.
A strong choice, yeah.
Well, and that relates to what you're talking about with acting as well. Coming in with that choice. But Johnny, what I want to ask you about that is, when you put yourself into a script, when you really say, here, I've gone wholeheartedly into this, and here's what I want to say, and it gets rejected, is that okay?
Well, I mean, you know, none of us like having stuff rejected, but it's part. If you're going to do this business, you better get used to it.
Well, then how do you pick yourself back up after you get told no?
I just say, I'm so much better than them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you got to.
So, in other words,
And it's probably true. I mean, you know, I've dealt with studio people and stuff, and I always assume I know more than them. So that's kind of my mantra.
So your shield or your defense would be, they just didn't understand it.
Or they didn't, you know, they can not like it if they don't.
Or it's
That's
not their
okay.
taste.
I don't care. I can go in and do some acting. Somebody says, oh, you know, I didn't love it. Well, that's okay. That's your opinion. I don't care.
So in other words, you don't take it personally.
No.
I think that's really important, guys. I think that's important to hear and know, because when you're creating something, it really is personal.
Oh, yeah.
You're putting your thoughts on the page, you're putting your emotions on the stage, and to get that rejected can be hurtful.
Oh, if you can't get yourself so involved in it, you take it extremely personally, get out now, because it's just going to be torture for you.
Do you get your feelings hurt, Barry?
I know, you're going to make me cry. You said you were going to make me cry.
You challenged me. You said I couldn't, and now I want to.
No. I take it personally. I take every rejection personally on some level, you know. And
we're like the Goofus and Gallant of acting and writing.
yeah. What?
Do you guys know who Goofus and Gallant is? Do you read your children's highlights?
You want to read Highlights magazine? Come on, when you're in the dentist's office? I still read it.
We read our iPad at the dentist now.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. No, I do. I mean, I take things really because I put a lot of effort into auditioning for parts. You know, I mean, if you get a script 2 days ahead of time of the audition, I've put in 5 or 6, 8 hours of thinking about it and trying to learn the lines just for the audition and this and that. And then if I go in and then I don't get a callback or I don't get the part. Yeah, I want to know why. And so much of the time these days, nobody has time to tell you why. There's no feedback anymore in our business, as you know. I mean, I'm sure you know. It's like you go in, well, they don't want me, fine. But nobody's ever going to tell you why you didn't get the part, other than the fact that you instinctively maybe know that, well, I'm 10 years too old for the part, or, I just suck.
Well, John says his defense mechanism is to assume that they just didn't get it, that whoever it is that is saying no just doesn't get it, and that's a really useful.
But I think it's also saying that's
mechanism.
okay if it's not necessarily they don't get it, they don't like it. That's okay. I mean, I'd rather have somebody say to me, yeah, I didn't really like it, than go, yeah, it was really good, I mean, I'd just rather say, I didn't like it. Okay, now your cup of tea.
You want the truth and move on.
Yeah.
But how do you, if you experience that kind of rejection, how do you bounce back from it?
Well, first of all, am I on still? I always know when I'm not going to get the part because I'm not. Am I still on?
Can you guys hear?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm still on. Okay. Now I have to have an answer?
Please.
What was the question?
How do you bounce back from rejection?
Oh, I was going to say, when I'm leaving an audition, if the producer or the writer or the casting person says, thanks so much for coming in, and thanks so much for being here, and I always know that I'm not going to get the part, because they were so overly gracious of the fact that I drove an hour and a half to get there and spent, a day of my life and this and that. So that's why I hate everybody in our business.
Right. So in other words, you're saying they don't get it. But I wonder just in yourself, because I think that we are, as long as we are alive, and creative, we're putting ourselves on the line. If I put myself out there, I'm either going to be accepted or I'm going to be rejected.
Right.
And bouncing back from rejection, and I think we all have our own ways of doing it, but I think figuring out those ways and being able to call upon them.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different way of doing it, and it's not to say that it doesn't hurt. It does, but you have to, just take it in and let it roll off. I mean, there's just no other way to do it. If you take it in, you're not gonna stay in this business.
That's interesting. I mean, maybe it might even work for some of you to, imagine that rejection like beating up and like water on a skillet and just rolling off you.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. I mean, it's like you get rejected so much. It's interesting because the older you get, the more sort of spiritual you get about it, and you get to the point where you're going, well, that just wasn't in my future.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. The thing your mother always used to say, one door closes, the other door opens.
Well,
there's always
Robert
something
Brightburn.
better around the corner, and you try to remember those simple thoughts and those simple sort of things that get you through life because they're really true.
I think they are true. They have to be true.
Yeah.
Because you have to go on.
Yeah, you can't let it bog you down. And the more rejection you get, the more you realize that that's just the nature of the business. And any business. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in probably most of the businesses that most of you are going to go into because you're going to be rejected and
but it's true in life.
Failures and
it's true in life, though.
Surviving.
It's true in life. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, if you're worried about what everybody's going to think about you as, oh my God, they're going to hate me. I mean, obviously you want to try and be a nice person, but you can't please everybody. And And you have to just kind of go, hey, look, if you don't like me, I get that. You know, you don't have to. There's no rule that says you have to like me. Move on. We'll both move on. Whatever. You know.
Oh, thank you. But why are we in a business then that is? Why do we put ourselves in that position of being rejected? You know, every week I put myself in a position of being rejected, and it's sort of like the quest of getting over it. You know, it's sort of like, well, how am I going to deal with rejection this week, and will I survive it, and what do I have to go through mentally and emotionally to prepare myself and or get over it?
I think we're risk takers.
Risk takers.
We're risk takers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't skydive, I don't bungee jump or anything like that. But in a way, what I do is pretty much the same thing. I'm doing it all the time I go out because I'm willing to take that risk, to be rejected, which is hard. And I mean, that's what we do on a daily basis. And I don't gamble or anything, but that's kind of my gamble. The thing about show business too, which I do love, and I've said this to a lot of people, is I know people that are right now almost down to their last dime. Tomorrow, they could be huge successes. All it takes is one good audition. I had an acting teacher who says all it takes is one good audition, because if you nail that and you get on a series that runs for 10 years, boom, you're done. You're good. You got it.
But that's the problem with our business, is that you're constantly living in this fantasy world that next week you're going to be above the curve as opposed to just sort of being under the radar.
But it's not fantasy. It's true. You can be.
It does happen. You know, we had a fail. I mean, it was very successful in terms of our experience, but our Bob Newhart show that was supposed to have been a slam dunk lasted 30-some episodes, whereas you did According to Jim.
I thought that was over after that pilot. I really did. I said to my writing partner, all right, let's pack up our offices. We're done. We're not going to, this will never go.
And how many years did it play?
192 episodes.
Almost 200
8
episodes.
years.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah, I keep asking myself that too.
No, I mean, seriously, why?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Was it the chemistry between the actors? Because, well, Belushi, what was he, Belushi?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
It was
we
the
won't talk about
chemistry-
Belushi.
Honestly, it was the chemistry, I would say, between the actors and the United States of America.
I think that's it. Yeah, it's it. You
People
never know what
wanted
America's.
that then.
You never know what America's going to like. I mean, anybody. There's a movie, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's kind of old. It's called The Barefoot Executive, and it's a story about a monkey that starts picking the shows on a network, and it becomes extremely successful. And you know what? It's absolutely real. It's not true, but it's real. Any monkey can pick the shows because it doesn't matter. If America likes it, it's going to go, but you never know what America's going to like.
We're always guessing. That's William Goldman famously said in Adventures in the Screen Trade. William Goldman, who wrote The Princess Bride, among many other wonderful, wonderful works, said, nobody knows anything. And I think that's been a theme that we've heard here too, but it's this creative urge that causes us to keep trying to guess what is going to work. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's like that. It's it. You're gambling, and when you hit the jackpot, it's a high that you cannot duplicate on any other scale. Am I right about that?
What about reinventing yourself every 7 years? Do you do that? I mean, in some way, do you do that?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really true. It's particularly in show business or as an actor, as your looks change and as your voice changes and as you get more self-confident or less confident, you have to sort of reinvent yourself. And I think everybody does that. In every job that you're going to do, you have to find a new way of doing it every 7 years. And I think 7 years is the number.
I think there must be some physics about that because it's true. I think that there are these opportunities to become. And I think that probably more than any generation we've known to date, you people are going to have the chance to have many, many careers.
Yeah.
Because the world is changing at such a rapid rate. We are about out of time. It's about time to take a quiz. But before we do that, please help me thank our wonderful actors and writers. You did not disappoint. You really brought not only the horror, but the scary. And I think that's really important to hear. But you also brought us really important lessons that we're going to remember. So
I thought he brought more horror than anything else tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week with Bonnie Bruckheimer is coming next week to talk to us about making movies.
Go see the Rocky Horror tonight at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at Embarcadero. Have a wonderful, safe, and sane
Happy Halloween.
And a wonderful, good weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you
quiz.
for having us.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
gentlemen.